grandmas confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal.
In Richmond, California, every race has a different story. But this story is about when the Japanese people were forced out of their homes, were forced to give up their businesses and everything that they owned in Richmond, California. Did you know that Japanese families were living here in Richmond, California before World War II? Well, if you did, I'm proud of you. And if you didn't, let me tell you, these families lived all over Richmond. Japanese Americans owned homes, ran farms, nurseries, and even a famous flower shop on Florida Street in Richmond, California. And then the government came and took it all. The kids went to Japanese schools. They helped their families with a farm or shops and played in the streets. Even though laws made it very hard for them to own lands, they built homes, businesses, and communities that they were actually proud of. Now, I bet that sounds familiar, right? But listen, though. After Pearl Harbor in 1941, everything changed. All of a sudden, Japanese Americans were treated like enemies in their own country. Evacuation buses came, and they were forced to pack in minutes. Kids were also sometimes separated from their own parents or sent with relatives alone. Homes, farms, and businesses, including that flower shop, was lost. Families were sent to camps in remote areas. Life was pretty harsh back then. The camps were crowded, often with wood floors and thin walls, poor quality of food, or even extreme heat or very cold winters. The families had school in their camps, but the children lost their childhoods. Fear and prejudice caused the U.S. to panic, They were paranoid. People assumed that Japanese Americans could just be spies for Japan, even though most were U.S. citizens and had done nothing wrong. Imagine if we were to do that in today's times. How crazy would that be, right? Long-standing racism and laws already made life hard for Japanese families in California, and the President Roosevelt signed an Executive Order 9066, giving the military power to remove anyone from certain areas in the West Coast. Now, ain't that something? Now, when the war ended, though, families were allowed to return. The most had lost everything. They had to rebuild from scratch, often facing continued discrimination. Today, Richmond and Florida Street honor these families with tribute and memorials, remembering the homes, farms, and flower shops that were taken away from them, and the resilience of those who survived. Many Japanese people died during this time from poor nutrition, extreme weather, emotional and psychological trauma, limited medical care, and extreme stress and shock. In 1988, though, President Reagan was like, you know what, I feel bad. And he was like, let me get him reparations. And he gave him $20,000 apiece. If you ask me, that ain't enough. Years of trauma on people, ruining their lives, stealing their childhood, their families. It was pretty sad. I did learn a lot at Rosie the Riveter, too. They did discuss this as well. So if you get the chance, go watch this short film at Rosie the Riveter. Maybe you can learn something, too. A lot of us out here was oppressed, dealt with segregation, and have a lot of historical trauma in our bloodlines.
Empty acres of open land that surrounded many of these nurseries was now filled with blocks and blocks of defense housing, apartments built for the shipyard workers.
Most California Japantowns were not rebuilt after World War II. People had lost their property, their businesses, and the federal government actively discouraged.
And not long ago, the flower shop was actually burned. But if you remember, this is what it looks like. So if you get the chance and you ever drive by, do know that you're driving past history. Don't forget our history. Because if we forget our history, history will repeat itself. Just take a look.